With RAYE? Yeah. I love working with RAYE. We've only just started, and you know, the first time we worked together, I think she said like, we're gonna make a lot of music together, and who knows, but I hope so, because I love, you know, I've admired her as an artist for a long time, and I figured because our styles and the things that we love are quite similar, at some point we would make music together, but it's so great, and it took obviously Aldemar Piguet to bring us together for the first time, and yeah, now we've just been working a lot. Yes, absolutely. I think when we make music, you know, and it's obvious, RAYE and I have this thing that, you know, in our own music, that we like something that feels sort of classic and timeless, but also kids to bump it. I want, you know, I want it to sound modern and big, but yeah, classic and timeless. So, and I think that there's even to talk about craftsmanship, you know, when we make music, the musicians and the way that we mic the instruments and the way that we arrange the songs, you know, we care about all those things. Because that's what all our heroes did, you know, in the old music from the Motown in the 60s and 70s. It was about musician and performance, and, you know, I like a lot of new modern pop music, which is just auto-tune and you can make it in 5 minutes, but for my own music I prefer to have that, like you said, craftsmanship. I think it changes all the time, because, you know, as you go make different records, you're looking through different sounds, and sometimes I'm more influenced by soul music, sometimes it's hip-hop, sometimes it's rock, sometimes it's country. I guess at this point I have a little bit of an idea what my fans like, you know, whether they like it because of Valerie or Uptown Funk or Electricity with Dua. There's something, maybe it's soulful pop music, you know, I guess. You know, you want to take your fans and your listeners somewhere unexpected, so sometimes you go somewhere different and you hope they come with you. Next day she came. The texture is like, when I think of it, and like I'm saying, I like all different kinds of music, but for my own music, I like it to sound warm. I like it to feel warm and feel, but the textures can be everything, because, you know, sometimes I might sample an old drum loop, or sometimes record a drummer playing live, and sometimes it really depends on the mood. And then a lot of it comes from my early years as a DJ in clubs, so I'm always thinking like, you know, when I drop this in my set, are people gonna move? Or how's it gonna sound in the club or out the club speakers? So there's all these things going on when I'm thinking about making music.
Influenced your final set?
Yes, because when we started the song, I had made the instrumental, I'd written sort of just the music. RAYE heard it and she's like, I don't know why, but this song should be called Suzanne. I'm just getting this feeling. Like, she hadn't written one lyric, but she was just like, I think this song should be called Suzanne. So I was like, cool. And I actually had somebody very close to me who almost like helped raise me when I was very young, who had just passed away. Her name was Suzanne as well. And RAYE had her own reasons, and we were like, great. And then RAYE called me 2 weeks later, and she's like, you're not gonna believe this. I'm what? She's like, I just sat down with all the people from AP, and then they told me that Suzanne was this woman who was like the very first, like Audemars, like, you know, her sons went on to build the brand and all this stuff, and so it was like a lot of, it was good fortune. It's just, it's so beautiful. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm doing a watch ad now, but it's like, I swear, it sounds corny, but even to look at something beautiful is inspiring in itself sometimes. You know, going to Le Brazil, to the, you know, to where AP was started and where they make the watches, and to see the craftsmanship and how the people, like, you know, moving around pieces of gears and things that are like this tiny with these big glasses on, and knowing that like they take every bit of their craft as seriously as we do when we're in the studio, maybe even more so. I think there's a lot of similarities between what we do. Music really does sort of come from an emotion. I mean, we can sit there and we, sit at the piano and technically which chord sounds good after which chord, but the best stuff I've ever made just comes from an emotion. You sort of sit down and before you know it, you're writing a song and you're not sure where it's coming from. Once you have the little first bit of the song, which is the raw emotion, then you're tuning it and fine-tuning it and adding the background vocals and the strings and the horns and these other things. So you take something that's like comes from pure emotion, but then you keep chipping away at it with the precision. So it's a mixture of both. When we made Uptown Funk, the first night that we got together to write it, me, Bruno, Jeff, and Phil, the first seed of the idea came in like 3 hours. Like we had like the first verse, the energy, the instruments, and then it took 7 months to finish because after you have the thing, then you have to refine it. I think it's true. It's like obviously AP have very classic designs and a heritage and a way of making things that they build on, but they're constantly pushing things forward with design and doing things that have never been done before because that's the balance that you want, You don't want to make something that's fully retro because it's been done before. Somebody has done it already and they've done it better. Yeah, the idea of taking the things from the past that you love and then making something that feels of its own time. I think that's what I'm always trying to do. I want kids to play it on their phone.
Oh.
That's what I want.
Okay.
I think some of it does probably come from my background as a DJ, like in clubs in New York. As a DJ, you're always curating. You're curating the night, you're taking people on a ride emotionally, you're playing music from so many different eras. And then also as a producer, your job is to sit with an artist for the first time, whether it's Lady Gaga, Amy Winehouse, or whoever, and you're just like, what kind of music do you want to make? What mood are you in? What are we going to do today? So you're sort of, I think as a producer, you're constantly curating emotions and sounds. I think that's just a little bit of the way that culture is now because of the phone and things are so fast and people's attention spans are a little bit shorter. I'm always hoping to make something that will stand the test of time and be around in 2 or 5 or 10 years or longer. But yeah, it's true. We burn through things so quickly. That's okay too. It's fun just to have like a bang or a bop that lasts for 3 months and then it's gone. Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
I know that show very well. He's amazing. That's very flattering. So thank you very much, Shab. That's crazy. I think usually it goes the other way. So usually I'll make a record or album. Once it's finished, then you start to think about what's the visual look. What's as simple as what am I wearing in the video? What am I doing? What am I wearing at the shows? What makes sense with this record? It was a lot of fun, obviously, doing like Uptown Funk with Bruno because he's so visual and he has an idea of like how everybody's going to be dressed. And when I was working with Lady Gaga, that was probably the most like rock and roll I ever dressed. And every picture I've got a cigarette and a guitar in my hand or something, I see it back. There are always these little snapshots and memories of different things. And my first album, I was just a DJ. I'm wearing jeans and Adidas and a t-shirt. So I think usually the music influences the visual. Well, I think that's what we were talking about before with maybe the inspiration, and the initial inspiration of the song came really quickly, but then it took 7 months to finish because we knew that the song sounded kind of different from everything else on the charts and on the radio, so we got to add another hook and then the horn line and these things, and let's make sure. And then at the end, we were really, Bruno was on tour, touring his second album at the time. So I was just chasing him around America, going wherever he was, Canada, Memphis, just with my bass, going to try and finish this song any way that we could. So I think I think Bruno's very smart like that too. He's always knows how to put like so many hooks into a song. So I think that was what really helped it. And then people just seem to just dig it. Yeah. Oh well, tons of it. But I mean, I've actually worked with Jenny and Rose quite a few times, but we've never quite finished anything. It's only we always have like 2 hours or something like that. But I really loved working with them, and I've seen Blackpink live, and they're incredible. So yeah, they're definitely amazing, very inspiring. They make such great music. I don't know Lisa, but I love Lisa's album too. And obviously Lisa has that song with RAYE that's fantastic. So yeah, so hopefully one day we'll finish one of our songs.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Even me.
Yeah.